The OKC Thunder made one of the identity-defining picks of the 2023 NBA Draft when they traded up to pick 10 to select Kentucky guard Cason Wallace. The NBA decided this year they weren't going to be foolish and let the clearly good Kentucky guard fall into the 20s like they usually do. Wallace was one of my favorite picks of the night, and he probably would have been no matter what team drafted him because any team could use him, but I particularly love the fit with OKC. This is a team that has one of the brightest young cores in the league. They have a legitimate top 10 to 15 player in the league. They have good pieces around that player, so adding Cason Wallace was really important to me because OKC is looking to take that leap and potentially become a contender in a few years, and that starts with having players like Cason Wallace on the roster. Now, I don't expect Cason Wallace to put up big numbers as a rookie, especially with, say, gilgeous-alexander having a legit all-NBA level season last year and being a superstar level offensive talent. Josh Giddey, who took a scoring jump in both production and efficiency from year 1 to year 2, while also being an elite connecting playmaker at the very least, and probably even more than that. Jalen Williams being a really good scorer and all-around player on really good efficiency for them in sort of a glue type role, and Chet Holmgren bringing what he does on offense to the table as well. But that's what makes Cason Wallace such a great fit with this OKC team. He doesn't need the basketball to be a big impact player. He's one of those players who is capable of putting up numbers, but it doesn't mean that he needs to put up big numbers to have a big impact. That's not to say that he isn't a skilled player. He's a good passer, he's a good finisher, he's a solid shooter. He's not bad at anything on offense per se, but he's not great at anything either. I wouldn't say he has a high offensive ceiling. I wouldn't say that he's ever going to be a big time scorer or a big time playmaker. But he also has a pretty high offensive floor, because he is solid to good at just about everything. This is important because it means he can't be played off the floor. It's not like teams are going to be able to leave him on an island. It's not like he's going to hold the team back on offense and be a negative in that regard, which also means he can be on the floor when the game is in the balance, because what he brings defensively is truly special. Cason Wallace is the best one-done defensive guard prospect I have ever evaluated, and it starts with his off-ball and help defense. Something that you usually see young players struggle with on defense is off-ball and help scenarios. Getting caught sleeping and letting backdoor cuts are common, or leaving a shooter open. Even for the young players with elite physical tools, this is something that they tend to struggle with, and it's also why I believe that you need to focus on what a player can do off the ball in defense to judge them more than what they do on the ball, because Jaylen Brown's a great example of really good on-ball defender, but awful off-ball defender, which is why I can't call him a great defender. Now, Cason Wallace does not have any problems in terms of off-ball and help defense. In fact, he's incredible in those scenarios. He's an excellent defensive communicator, he's really engaged, he reads coverages very well, he navigates screens well, he plays passing lanes with active hands, and what he does off the ball in defense is truly good right now, and it will translate to the NBA. And it's not just about that. He also is a great on-ball defender, specifically in point of attack scenarios. He's a pretty good lateral mover, and he has pretty good strength. Doesn't have the longest arms in the world, but he makes up for it with his strength and foot speed. He's also a pretty good shot blocker for a guard as well. I love the way that he times his blocks. I love the way that he positions himself when opposing players attack the basket. And he is somebody that I believe will be able to guard 1 to 3 to a certain extent. I do think he will struggle with guys like Fox and Ja, because while Wallace has good foot speed and lateral movement, I wouldn't say it's on a level to keep up with those guys. But the same way Victor Wembanyama's job isn't just about defending the best bigs in the world 1v1, Cason Wallace's job isn't about defending the best guards 1v1. This is a complete defensive guard. He can get blocked, he can get steals, he can play on and off the ball. He's a super high field defender, and he also has a super high motor on defense, which is the most important tool to have as a defender. I really don't see a world where Cason Wallace is not a good defensive player. His feel for the game, the intangibles, the physical tools, just everything he does on that end of the floor on tape and in the numbers, it really just paints a picture of somebody that's going to be a good defender at the next level. And it's just really hard to see a world where at the very least he's not a net neutral, and net neutral might be too low. I think at the very least he's an above average defender in the NBA, but I think he has a chance to be even more than that. Someone that's legitimately all defense level good, in the same way we saw with Marcus Smart and Drew Holiday in their careers. Now, I'm not saying he'll reach those levels necessarily. Marcus Smart was a defensive player of the year, and at his best, Marcus Smart was somebody that could legitimately defend 1 through 4 and even some 5s, and Drew Holiday to a certain extent could also do those things. I think Cason Wallace would have to get better physically. And I'm not saying he has bad physical tools. I think he's pretty NBA ready physically right now, but he'll have to get even stronger to defend fours the way that Marcus Smart did, and to an extent Drew Holiday did. But in terms of off-ball activity, in terms of feel on defense, in terms of hustle and motor, in terms of playing defensive coverages very well, and at the very least being able to defend 1 through 3, I think he is similar to those guys and projects to be a similar player on that end of the floor, and I don't say that lightly. Cason Wallace has a chance to be the ultimate glue guy for OKC and then some. The same way Marcus Smart was for Boston and will be for Memphis. The same way Draymond Green is for Golden State. The same way Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon were for Denver, and actually throw KCP in that group as well. I can't stress enough how important these types of players are, and I think Cason Wallace was well worth the 10th pick, and even if he doesn't put up the big numbers early on, I think those numbers will get better, and I do expect him at the very least to get to what Marcus Smart was offensively in terms of point production, maybe even a little better than that, and definitely more efficient than Marcus has been in his career. And I think what he brings defensively has a chance to be so great that we'll look back and say maybe he should have gone a bit higher in the draft, like we do with all Kentucky guards. Even though I don't expect him to put up big offensive numbers, he still is more than competent as an offensive player and has a chance to be one of the best defensive guards in the league within his first 2 to 3 seasons in the NBA. He's a high feel, high motor player that also has great intangibles. That's a recipe for a player who will be good in the NBA, really good in fact. And I might be underselling his offense as well. He was pretty good on offense at Kentucky, but we have seen time and time again that these Kentucky guards are held back by the college system they play in, and they end up being better in the pros on offense. That's a real possibility with Wallace. It's not a guarantee, and he is playing on a team with proven scorers, but I wouldn't be shocked if he was a much better offensive player in the NBA. Regardless of that, he's going to be a competent player on offense at the very least, and that's all he needs in order to be a high impact player worth a top 10 pick, because he's that special on defense. His defense is so special that if his offense was as special as his defense, he would at the very least have been the second best player in the draft and would have had an argument for best in the class. That's how special his defense is, to the point where if his offense was that good, he would be in some talks as a prospect that I don't think people understand just how high it would be. Regardless of that, OKC got a really good player in the top 10. Someone that I'm confident will impact winning basketball, and someone I'm confident will have a really good NBA career as a really good player for a very long time. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, and notification bell. I'm notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, so if that interests you, really think you enjoy this channel, and liking and subscribing are the 2 best ways you can help me out in the YouTube algorithm, help more people find my videos, so in turn, helps the channel grow so I can make more content for you guys in the future. Let me know what you think about Cason Wallace and OKC in the comment section below. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.